Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. Today we are going to talk about what you should do with your golden companion spirit. If you don't know, recently Honkai Star Rail just announced that we're getting our second golden companion spirit, and today we're going to discuss what you should do with yours. We're going to be going over all three of the characters that you were able to pull with this and talk about who you should get. Should you save it? Well, there's lots of options here. Anyways, boys, let's get into the video. So I think the most interesting thing about this is at this point, this is going to be our second golden companion spirit. And we're now seeing that Honkai Star Rail is kind of giving these away more frequently than most of us would have thought. I was thinking we would maybe get like one per arc. So like 3.0 till 3.x, we would only get one. And then we would get another one in 4.0. But we actually got two in the version 3.0 updates, which I think is really interesting because it means I think there's a greater chance we get more in the future. And so now, in my personal opinion, it's a better time than ever to use your golden companion spirits because we're seeing that they're more likely to give them out. And the other interesting part is that some of us who held on to our golden companion spirits now have two that we can use instead of one. Now, if you already used your one, I would maybe recommend holding on to the other one because it's not guaranteed that they're going to give us another one. And maybe just having one for safety is a good thing. But if you're perhaps holding on to two, well, then maybe you should think a little bit harder about getting one of these units. Now, which one should that be? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about two of the old characters first. First up, let's talk about a little bit of Luocha. This character is still honestly a pretty decent healer. He still holds up nowadays. He's generally considered a tier 1 healer among all the game modes. Still generally worse than characters like Gallagher, Aventurine, among others, but still the best of the 1.0 sustains. If you are lacking a sustain on your account and you do not have a very solid one, then Luocha definitely can work as that sustain. He cleanses, he heals quite a bit, not as much as you need in the latest game modes, like Anomaly Arbitration, but still a decent amount. He removes buffs from the enemy, he resists crowd controls, he does everything that you would expect of your typical healer, which makes him pretty ordinary, kind of like how he looks. Would I recommend pulling him though? The most likely answer is no. In HSR, generally you need two sustains, one for each side on all three of the standard game modes. And then in Anomaly Arbitration, technically you need three. So at this point you need three healers. And most accounts at this point have healers that you can use that aren't Luocha that practically do the same thing as he does. Most accounts have a Gallagher, most accounts have a Lynx. A lot of accounts have something that can substitute for Luocha just so you have some sustain on your team. Oh, and did I forget to mention the fact that the game literally just gave away a free sustain? Unless by some miracle your only sustain is Danheng PT, then there really is no reason to get this character. I will say the one nice thing about Luocha is that he does pair well with Castris as a healer, which is very beneficial. So if you don't have a Hyacinth, then Luocha can be a pretty decent substitute. So definitely not a bad option if you do know a Castris. Getting Luocha as a substitute there may not be a terrible option for your account. As for his Eidolons, no, you don't need them. The first one's an all attack increase. It's nothing crazy. This one is a shield, which is just more sustain. This one's the enemy damage weaken. You do not need Eidolons for this character. Luocha Eidolons are not going to help you. I would say out of everybody here, he's probably the lowest priority in my honest opinion, or maybe tied for lowest priority with Topaz. Topaz is the newest one, the addition to the group. And again, it's an unfortunate thing because Topaz is also a unit who has generally fallen off in the current meta. She held really good throughout most of the 2.x updates, but going into 3.0 and beyond that, she's fallen off pretty heavily. She's a follow-up attack bot, and if you know follow-up attacks, you know how useless they are in the current meta. Not to mention the fact that they made characters that are 4 stars that basically do what she does on the same level. And so she honestly isn't much better than your account's average March 7th or an account's average mozzarella. Even in Perdwin, Topaz and March 7th sit in basically the same tier in every ranking. Generally, if you are for some god unknown reason using follow-up attacks, this character does the same thing and you get her E6 for free. However, Topaz is cool because she has a cute pet and she can help you find treasure chests because Numby spots them out, and you get a free companion, which is cool. And also, I personally love Topaz. So pull her for me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't highly recommend pulling Topaz. The reality is follow-up attacks have just fallen off and they're just not generally good nowadays. There aren't a lot of single target bosses that you use Fei Zhao in these teams for. And like I said, even if you are using Phase Out, there are better options than Topaz. Like, for example, the Cat Girl who just came out. As for Topaz Eidolons, you could pull them. One of them increases the crit damage of follow-up attacks, gives you more proof of debt states, which makes her do more damage. This one gives more energy. They're not like terrible, but they aren't like as good as like E1s nowadays. And there are characters that you can get better Eidolons for that are also characters that you're able to get with the Golden Companion Spirit. And being honest, instead of pulling a Topaz, instead of pulling a Luocha, I would personally go for the best character, which is Ruan Mei. Ruan Mei, in my opinion, among all of the characters which you can pull, is generally the best option. She's the most in use in today's current meta in HSR. She's the most universal. She's the one who most of your accounts could probably end up using. She's good for break teams. She's good for non-break teams. She gives you all-type res pen, increases break damage, increases allies damage. I mean, she just does so much today. She's definitely not the best in the entire world in terms of harmonies, but she's still better than the other options you have on the banner, which I think makes her pretty decent. Even in today's current meta, she still sits in T0.5, 0.5, T0 for most of the endgame modes. And as a character, you can fit into a multitude of different teams. Unlike characters like Topaz, she can only fit in really 1 or 2 teams. And Luocha's a little more universal. You could fit him really anywhere, which is pretty nice to him. But yeah, Ruan Mei has a lot of viability, especially since there's a strong chance they bring break back with the revelation of Dahila / Constant. So there's a good chance that the meta in Ruan Mei can be coming back. The other nice thing about Ruan Mei is her Eidolons are actually not bad. They're not great, but they're better than the other 2 options here. Her Eidolon 1, defense shred, really good. Next one is an all attack increase for allies by 40% when enemies are weakness broken, which by the way is quite literally the Luocha trace, just better. So her E2 is better than the Luocha E1. Not too much of a shock there. I would say if you're going for any Eidolons, I would highly recommend going for the Ruan Mei ones over the Topaz or the Luocha ones. That's my personal opinion. This is your most valuable pickup, and if you want a good unit, you'll pull Ruan Mei with your Golden Companion Spirit. This is signed off by the Ruan Mei Conspiracy Group. Regardless, there's still 2 more subjects I want to cover. There's still 2 more uses for your Golden Companion Spirits. One of them is spending them on a standard banner unit. Don't do this. You'll lose the 50-50 anyways and end up accidentally get them. There's no realm in which that's worth it. I'm asking you kindly, please do not do that. None of these characters are good nowadays, besides Bronya, and if you're coping Welt. Don't do that, unless you don't have a Bronya. The only case in which I would ever recommend using a Golden Companion Spirit on one of these additional 5 stars would be if you don't own a Bronya. Any other case, no chance. And then the last possibility to consider would be saving your Golden Companion Spirit. Again, you can do this. It is an option. We may see more in the future. Looking back at some of the units, we can kind of predict who they might put on there. I think there's a high chance Imbiber IL goes on there. I think there's a high chance Dr. Ratio makes it on there. Right now, you're kind of noticing that they're putting a lot of 1.0 characters on there. So I say any 1.0 characters you can expect to come on that banner unless they're really good like Silverwolf. But if you're looking for maybe one of the ones I just named, maybe hold on to your Golden Companion Spirit and maybe you'll see them in the future. That's your last option. I hope this video did help you. If you're pulling for meta, that's what I would recommend. But honestly, if you're pulling for waifu, just pull Topaz. This message was brought to you by the Conspiracy of the Topaz Association. Anyways, boys, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.